Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Money Master HQ show. Today, we've got an incredible guest whom you definitely need to meet and learn about. He's an entrepreneur and he's also the CEO of the OmList app. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Thanks for having me.
Kyle, whereabouts are you based? And talk a bit about yourself, how you got here.
Yeah, I grew up in Southern California, so I was there for a large portion of my life, and then I went to school in New York, and then I worked in Hollywood as a TV writer for about a decade. And then when COVID happened, I saw how fragile that ecosystem of Hollywood was, and I'm like, I think they're gonna have some tough times ahead. So I was noticing how social media was eating a lot of attention for content and people were watching less and less TV and movies. And so I was like, I want to figure out how to leverage my skills to create businesses where I can be my own boss and dictate when and where I work. And so since COVID, my partner Amy and she was like, why don't we just go like rent out some of these places? They're all empty. So we got a bunch of our friends and we just went around and road tripped around America, and we're in these crazy houses that were like $20,000 a month, but we got it for like 5 and we had 10 of our friends with us. And so it was just a really unique time. And then when everybody else started to go back into the office, Amy and I were like, why don't we, the rest of the world's opening up, let's go see the rest of it. And so that's basically been our lives for the past 4 years, with a lot of other stuff in between with our businesses. But that's what's been happening there. But when we go back to the States, we're mostly in California. And so after this, we will be heading back to the States. We're currently in Madeira, Portugal.
Nice. So doing some stuff for Hollywood would have been an incredible experience, wouldn't have it been?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like a bit of a mixed bag. I think that, whatever the positives are of something, there's always like an equal negative. It's just about like, can you handle those negatives? And so I think that I was just seeing a lot of my friends not reach the levels that they were hoping to get to. And like a lot of the effort was getting kind of exploited and a lot of different things. But I worked on some incredible shows, and I felt very lucky for the time that I was there, what I was able to witness and be in the room for. And I had a very idyllic experience and still felt like I needed to figure out something else because I didn't see the sustainability in it.
Interesting. So what really motivated you to, you did mention what motivated you, but in fact, what is OmList itself? And why did you come up with this name and the idea for the business itself? It's something rare, isn't it?
Yeah. So basically I just have a big bone to pick with a lot of the current recommendation algorithms and how they operate, because I think they're trying to simplify something that isn't simple. And I think OmList stands for, it's spelled OmList. And I wanted to create a website that was kind of built around list making. Like that's inherently kind of the function of it. And our first SKU was movies, where you like Tinder swipe if you like a movie or dislike a movie. And then you go through what we call battle mode, where you like pick if you like this movie more than this movie, or if you think this movie's worse than this movie. And basically, after you go through that, it creates a more complex profile of you, of what you like and what you don't like. And then it compares it against other users and then puts you in this like cluster of similarity. And then it will filter movies to you that you haven't seen, that people that like the similar things to you like. So it's sort of just like a way of filtering priority from like-minded people. And I'd always like wanted something like this because I've always really I've thought a lot about recommendations. I've thought a lot about like even just event planning, or how to have a group of people like the same thing or find common overlap where they'll find equal, because everybody's very different. And so I wanted to kind of I just realized there wasn't like a tool that was really aggregating priority, what we prefer and what we like. And I think that a lot of where the machine learning and the AI algorithms are headed is towards trying to break everything down to like these key components, where like Dune is a sci-fi movie with Timothy Chalamet. And then it's like, if you like that, then you'll also like Interstellar. And it's like, but like, are those movies similar at all? Like maybe not. Or, it kind of goes through a lot of recommendation tries to say that everything is able to be broken down to parts. And I think when it comes to human taste and what we like, I think there's so much more that goes into it. And I think the special part of my app is trying to take the human component of just saying like, it's not about that you like this movie more than this movie. It's kind of like what is built around that, like that ranking. It's kind of like the space between it is like infinity. It's sort of like saying if your top favorite movies are Finding Nemo, Fight Club, and Top Gun Maverick, like very different movies, and it would be very hard to say what is that overlap. But with OmList, that's the power of it. Is it can say we're not intuiting why you like these. We're understanding that you're saying that you are, and these people happen to also like it, and we can't even claim what the keyword or thematic overlap is to this. We will just basically filter to you. So we kind of take the magic of what we are as humans, if you believe that there's a magic to what we like and what we're doing, um, as opposed to, oh, like your phone heard you talking about, the new Lord of the Rings show. Like it's going to just show you a bunch of Lord of the Rings stuff now. Or like, it's kind of this mirror where it's like, I just watched a video of a person mountain biking down like this super steep hill. And then all of a sudden, all I see is mountain biking clips. And it kind of just it's reflecting like the same back to you, but it's not actually building towards something that might be very satisfying. And I think that's why we're in this weird lull with our social media or with content in general, is because when you watch something that's truly affecting, that feels really fulfilling, you kind of don't want to watch anything else. But their main mandate is they want you to stay like engaged as long as possible. But that means it's like the potato chip test. I'm calling it the potato chip test, where you eat one, but it doesn't feel filling enough. And so you eat another. And then you just keep doing that until the bag's gone. But if you ate something that was like a whole food or an apple, you wouldn't be as hungry anymore. And so like a lot of our content and our food or whatever is like, it's like engineered to be like, to make you feel like you're being satisfied, but you're not. And so it's like, it just keeps you in this weird liminal space of sort of satisfied, but not satisfied enough to stop. And so Omeless is like an effort of just saying, what are the things that we've cared about the most, that we've loved the most, and that we like actively say that this is our favorite thing, and we've chosen it to be our favorite thing. I think that reflects something more key to us, and I think we could have more impactful, more satisfying experiences if we were to do that. And so, I'm starting with movies, but my full roadmap is to get all the way to allowing people to engage with other people. And we were always thinking like from movies to soulmates, and if we were to go all the way through that spectrum, by the time we got to people, I think that there'd be a tremendous amount of information that we would understand about why people like what they like and what they engage with. And then maybe that would be the moment that we could say we could probably figure out who would enjoy each other the most.
Thanks, Kyle. Now, when it comes to movies, so is there a particular kind of movies that are on your app, or is it targeting a particular location or geography?
No, it's anywhere. So like it's kind of agnostic to what your thing is. So like a person in Dubai could have the same taste in movies as somebody in Argentina and Hawaii. Like those, like, so it's not saying that like because you're from Dubai, where you're living, is this the type of movie that you're going to like? That's what a lot of the other recommendations are trying to say, is that by being in this sense of place, that means you're going to like this. Like there's that big show Yellowstone, and they're like, if you live in a rural area, you're going to like Yellowstone a lot more. And they might be right most of the time, but I'm trying to target like more of the nuance that makes us unique rather than what our environment is talking about. Because I think there's a lot of kids and a lot of people out there that feel like they really love anime, or they like romance books, or they like, reading business books or whatever. And there's nobody in their environment that has read that, experienced that. And they are literally just going through YouTube comments, or they're going through Reddit threads trying to figure out, what am I going to watch next? What am I really going to like? And I think it's sometimes such a pained process to do that. And the average person, when just deciding what to watch on Netflix, like how long do you think people spend on Netflix trying to find something to watch? Like if you were to guess.
Maybe an hour?
An hour?
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty extreme, but it's a little over 20 minutes. And if you do that every day, and their average user is engaging every day, um, it's taking them 20 minutes to find what to watch. And when you add up all that time at the end of the year, that almost equals a week of your waking life is spent just trying to decide what's happening on Netflix and what you're going to watch. And I think, like, why are we spending so much time deliberating about what we're going to do rather than experiencing it and saying what we thought about it? And like, so I just felt like there was a huge gap in what this particular thing was, that, I wanted to just say, like, I don't want to put any assumptions on anything here. I just want to see what the data says. And the more people that keep getting added to it are immediately getting the best experience that has ever happened on the app at that moment. And the next person will get an even better one, because it just keeps adding information and more similarity. And the more people on it, the closer in similarity people get.
Yeah, I just need to clarify. I mentioned an hour thinking that it's per week or per month, but you said it's a week per year. That's quite a lot of time wasted, isn't it?
Right. It's hard. Like, our days add up so fast. We don't even realize it. And it's like, if you spend an hour in the gym every day, like, you're spending weeks of your life a year in the gym. And it's like, I think because like we sleep like a third of our life basically, and we don't realize how fast time goes by. And so I'm just wanting to maximize our level of experience and enjoyment with not only the content, experiences, people. I'm wanting us to get closer to the decision as fast as possible.
Interesting. Now, being a movie person, can I ask you what have your favorite movies been?
What have your favorite movies been? I'll go after, but I'm curious what you really like.
Not a movie person, to be honest. But
You're not a movie person.
that's right.
What do you feel like? What content do you absorb the most? Are you a podcast guy? Do you watch a lot of YouTube?
It's something based on a real story. Those are the kind of stories that I like, but not something fantasy or animations. These are not my kind of
That's
stuff.
not your thing. Okay. Do you read like a lot of business books? Are you like into nonfiction?
More of business nonfiction kind of stuff. Yes, that's right.
So, what are some of your favorite business nonfiction books that you've read?
Atomic Habits, The
Yeah.
Road, the Success to Millionaires. Then
Mm.
I'm part of Dean Graziosi's books, Simon Sinek. Yeah.
Yeah.
Napoleon Hill. I mean, these are some of my favorite authors, and all of their books, basically. I've read most of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I've read a lot of their stuff too. It was so interesting. Like, when I started my business or what I was up to, I was like devouring all those books because I didn't really know anybody that was like a business owner when I started running my own businesses. I think my whole life has like literally been just that, is imagining what it should be rather than like, or imagining what I want there based on the absence of it, where it's like, oh, like, I might not have never known a really healthy marriage. Like, I've never, like, it's hard to see a marriage and be like, I want that. But like, I'm like, but I imagine if I were to have a marriage, this is what I would want it to be. And I think like that's how I've operated a lot in life. And books, I think, have often been a really good insight into interacting with people that I couldn't get the time with, like Simon Sinek, I think, charges probably like $50,000 a speech, and so to like get access to these guys, I feel like it's easier to get it through their written material. And so, like, Atomic Habits was huge for me. And, I felt like the book that really affected me as a business owner was Good to Great and Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think those were like the single like biggest hits, especially with Rich Dad Poor Dad. The first like third of the book, which is about his kind of origin story, I think is just so kind of well done. I think that's the best thing he ever did. And he's just been, you know, you know, iterating from there and maybe exploiting that amazing part of the book for a lot of things. But I think it's just so interesting going from being a person that has a boss to then being a boss, because it's a very disorienting experience. It's kind of like going from being like a child to a parent, I imagine. And all of a sudden you're just like, oh my God, my parents, like, what did they do? How did they do that? Like, this is just so much, you kind of develop this empathy for the other side that you didn't have previously. But my favorite movies in general are like I really love Dune. I think Dune is an amazing modern movie. But I really love Back to the Future. I think that is my most rewatched movie. There's just so much fun and like I don't know, it's just built in a way that's just so clever. And every part of it is just building into a joke or some like hint. It's so expertly well done. And like those are my kind of favorite movies. And like American Beauty. American Beauty also was a very affecting movie of seeing people live lives that they weren't happy with and then trying to reclaim that in some form. And yeah, I don't know. I like evolution. I like people that change. I like things that feel like like a crescendo. Like when you're listening to a really great like orchestra or something, and it's just like or like a composer like like Harry Potter or Star Wars or whatever, and it just hits that moment where everything blends together and feels uh exciting. Like I think that's always the feeling I'm chasing, is the culmination of the moment to change.
My son is a huge fan of Harry Potter movies, so yeah, I understand.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Uh, Now, when is the app founded, Kyle, and how has the market response been so far?
Yeah, so I've been working on and off because we have like other businesses, but I've been basically gestating and working on this idea for the past couple of years. And and it was a combination of me learning to code, like sourcing people to help me with designs or whatever. And it's been just like a giant education. Like I feel like I've almost gone to like, CS, got my CS major. And it's it's been really fascinating. And I think like we launched officially in mid-July. So it's been almost 2 months and it's been really good. Like we have active users. And a big part of like my play with this was programmatic SEO because we were leveraging a database. So I was like really wanting to hit SEO really hard. And we're getting over 600 like organic clicks to the website, and we're getting about 5 to 10 downloads or new signups a day. And so that's been really cool. So I feel like if we just keep continuing on that trajectory, and the more that our SEO keeps indexing, then we'll keep going. Because I think so many people feel like that marketing is all social media. Like it's all like you have to like have like this TikTok video, you have to have this Instagram thing, like you have to do whatever. And I think that the thing that I've realized is that there's other ways to market to people that are still really, when everybody's focused on one particular area, then there's a lot of other places that are being ignored. And I think specifically with SEO and even like how these new AI search engines are kind of operating, like Perplexity, I've been spending a lot of time thinking about how those source information and how to have OmList show up whenever somebody wants to find a movie to watch.
Well, Perplexity is based on YouTube videos, right? It's trained on the data of YouTube videos. So
I think it's trained on a lot of different things, but it's definitely like from my experiments with it, it's essentially showing, it's basically taking the first page of Google and it is indexed that first page of what a top search is, and it's essentially using that as like their cached information base to cultivate something. So it's essentially taking kind of like the cream of search engines of the first page and trying to amalgamate it in a way to present information to somebody. So it's actually like it's an interesting new form of it, but in its operation, it's not actually that complex. It takes a lot of server space because they're indexing like the top 1% of the internet, which is not a small thing. But a lot of these models have often been trained on other things, and also Perplexity leverages other models. They use Claude, ChatGPT to essentially process the information. It's not its own AI. It's like it's leveraging other AI and giving it information so that it can make a very handcrafted, real time result.
thanks, Kyle. Now, coming back to the discussion on the app and how you started this business, I'm sure there would have been a lot of challenges on the way. What were some of the
Yeah.
biggest challenges that you faced while approaching to build the technology business? And how did you overcome them?
I think it's been people management, honestly. And I've managed other people before. Like when I was in Hollywood, like I made short films, or my partner and I ran a podcasting company for a while. And it's different when you're wanting to make something there, because it feels like it's everybody's dream to make something and they just want the opportunity to do so. If you're an actor, you have to wait for a script, a director, a thing to basically come to you in order to practice your craft. As a writer, you don't have to have anything. You can just write and then you can make something. And as a writer, I was constantly wanting to get my stuff more out there. And when I had the podcasting company, there was like, I had an entire pipeline of, editors, actors, sound designers that were able to make this stuff real. And, you know, often, often the thing is like motivation for artistic people, it's not as required because it's like kind of inherent in the craft. And when I started interacting in a more technical space, and this is just entirely based off of my own experience, I found that the degree of motivation and communication went to a higher level in being able to communicate with technical people. I think it was a part of me also having to develop a vocabulary and language of what they were specifically doing. But I do think that there sometimes is an added difficulty just with the people that I've engaged with, to communicate what should happen. And I think there's also just like a deeper, it's also dealing with people that like have had, you know, $400,000 like jobs that they've had a year. And it's just like a very different mind when you deal with somebody that has so much abundance around them to motivate them. Because then it's pure passion. You're trying to give them the opposite of what Hollywood has. Hollywood has like no money and all passion, and Silicon Valley has all the money and has a hard time finding what that passion is. And I found trying to imbue passion in people has been a really unique experience that's been hard. And that's why like I mostly work with freelancers now, and I've taken on more of the technical role and just learned coding myself because I found it was like less pain to do that. And I can hire specialists to like consult. But largely I felt the more that I kept taking on, the easier my life got in terms of making the app.
At any point in your journey, did you feel overwhelmed, and did you feel like, no, I should just give up on this project and just move on with something else?
Yeah. Honestly, it's like I feel that multiple times. And I think if you don't feel that, I think that maybe you're not pushing it enough. Um, Maybe somebody like, honestly, any project that I've been a part of that I wanted to make the best it possibly can be never felt like a very easy experience. And I think that I have gotten to this point, and it's like I'm working through this on my own, which is how much do I put my like emotion or mental well-being like into account when the project is just like requiring something, right? Like I've always been very like, results oriented. And I've always been like, if we have to make it, if we have to walk, you know, uh, from LA to New York, we should just get started. Because if we have to walk, we might as well just get started now, no matter how long it takes. And every step we take, it'll get closer. And sometimes with projects, it's hard to fully scope what the energy will be that it will take, because different things will happen along the way that will make different things more complex. Maybe the person that you're working with or you're trying to have design this thing isn't as good at gradients as you want them to be, or this technical person isn't as good mathematically as they are design wise as a front end coder. And you're dealing with like constantly these like gaps. And it's like, how do you fill it in? And I think that, along that way, I think in order to just like accomplish these projects, or even this show called The Horror at Martin's Beach that I wrote and produced, like was 10 hours of content that I completely wrote on my own, and then had to produce it. And it literally took so much out of me. And it's hard because it's like, I want the project to have everything it can be, that there's no excuse of why it wasn't better, like, or why, or like, oh, it was good, but it's like all these things were wrong. I'm like, no, there's like, I don't believe that there's like a way to put something out there that is like not getting everything from you. I want it to have the best chance possible. I imagine it's how people feel with their children. There's like, I want them to have everything. Like, I want them to be able to go to the schools that they want. I want them to have the things they want. And I don't want to be the limit on them. So like, whatever it takes, I'm going to do my best. And I think that having that mentality is it comes at a cost also. Like, it's very hard because it's like the only way to overcome it is just through hard work. And the, I think I've had to learn when I like take a day off to like read a book or something, or just, go for a walk, because I think sometimes I can get just so locked in on a problem that it like, it ends up being the middle of the night and I haven't gone to sleep yet. And so I think finding that balance has been really hard. It's just hard when I see like how much these projects need and how much I want to give them. And because there's like, a balance between budget and result, I think I'm always trying to balance those, but I'm trying to make up the most value with just my time. I'm trying to give it as much as possible so that it compounds and then more stuff can, I don't know, result. But I think that's been the hardest part, honestly, is seeing how incredible I see it can be, and I'm ultimately going to be the main reason if it reaches it or not. And I care about the project so much. Anything I do, I really, really care about it.
Glad to hear that you've passed that phase now, and I mean, you've launched the app and now in a different phase altogether. I mean, yes, imagine given it up at that moment. I mean, it could have been a huge loss, isn't it? So people get so close to achieving their goals and dreams, but just at that pivotal moment, they give up on their dreams. So yeah, thanks. I mean, that's a great story, Kyle. Now, talk about the business model of the app itself. Again, don't share anything confidential, but if it's something
Right.
that you share, please go ahead. How do you guys make money? I mean, is it through sponsored ads or is it a cut from the movie producers? How does it all work?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different combinations of what it can be. Right now, it's currently just a free app because we're trying to get more users onto it, because we're currently using a database of movies. And for us to commercialize the app, which is basically start to make money off of it, they require a certain amount to justify that. And so it's like, if your app's free, you don't have to pay anything. Just don't like overload our servers. It's fine. The minute you start making money, they'll immediately say, you need to pay us $3,000 a month to use this. And so I'm in this point of trying to get as many people onto the app. And, by the end of the year, at the trajectory that we're going, we should have enough people to justify and be able to pay, because then I can put ads on it and I can put subscription on it and unlock a lot of the features we're currently working on. And then hopefully that would be enough to then cross that barrier. And so I'm like interacting with them, but that's honestly the main threshold, is that like, if I can get beyond 10,000 users, I can then probably turn it on and with confidence have it be profitable. And so that's what I'm kind of working towards, is that level. But there was other SKUs had I like thought deeper about it. I'm like, oh no, I can like do this and I can build it and it's a good goal. But like, I could have used other open source libraries like with books or music that doesn't require a commercial fee, that would have been different to start with. And so I'm just like, it's funny when you do something for the first time, you just like, it's so hard to like completely analyze every little aspect of what would happen. And so the business model will exist off of ads and books, or not books, subscriptions, ads and subscriptions. And that will be, for this model, how it makes money. There's also a data play that can happen where it's just like a unique, information source. So we can also decide if we want to do that at some point. But I feel confident that with the ads and the subscription that we could make more than enough to.
What's the long-term plan for OmList, or what's next?
Like what I was saying earlier with the going from movies to soulmates, I think like that's kind of like the grandest ambition of it is I just want to know like how similar people are. Like there's over 8 billion people on this planet and I'm just so curious like who we're most similar to. And I think there's just never been anything that's been able to fully calculate that. And I think in its fullest form, I think there could just be a lot of insights into humanity, how we make decisions, what we like how do we decide how we spend our time, who we spend our time with, what we spend our time doing. Um, everything. If I was able to say like if everything in my life I'd ever experienced was like organized and prioritized based off of what I thought of it, then that'd be just so much information to I don't know. I just feel like there's just something magical on the other end of it. And I think that sometimes like the greatest businesses are the businesses that I'm really excited by, which is how, what are like the answers? What are the mysteries in this thing that are going to lead to, I don't know, like what it is? Like, is it going to answer a question I have about humanity? Like, how many people does it require to get like a 90% similarity in movies? And are they in the same place? Are they not? Are they around the same age? Are they not? Do they have similar backgrounds or do they not? And I am just like so fascinated for that data. That's why like I think Google is one of the coolest companies ever made, is simply because they have all of the curiosity of the world inside of it. They literally know what everybody is wondering and what they're trying to find. And that's so interesting because that's attention. That's like cost of life because they're curious. And I think that that is, if I were to immediately have access to one company completely, I would love to know everything inside of Google. I would love to be at the heart of what their data says because I think there's some real interesting things in there. And I think with OmList, it's like its own unique way, built more from a people perspective, rather than just like an overly technical robotic perspective. Is I want humans to gain and benefit from being humans by other humans. And we can leverage technology to do that, but I don't think we should ever remove the human core of what makes us human. And I do think there's something special in that. And so that's kind of what my thesis is around OmList is like everything else is built to try to make you fall in love with your iPhone or your whatever. And they're going to make it your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, your best friend. It's going to be all these things that is going to be very seductive. And it's going to constantly try to take up as much attention as possible. But like what I was saying earlier with the potato chip test, I don't know if that's actually probably the healthiest thing for us. Is I think that we should find things that are fulfilling enough that we can then live life rather than observe it, you know?
I personally feel at some point ChatGPT may overtake Google in terms of the largest search engine, but that's a whole separate discussion to be had.
You do? Okay. Yeah, yeah. Possible. Yeah.
But coming back to the discussion, Kyle, if we talk about AI, what impact do you think it will have on the movie industry?
Huge. I think honestly, like I have a bit of a controversial take on that. And I think actually AI is going to save Hollywood. I think it's going to save movie making in general. It's so expensive to make movies, and like to make even a Marvel movie takes $200 million, like minimum. And I think that we've really lost those middle budget movies, the detective movies, the like, the romantic comedies, like those don't really get released in theaters anymore. Not like they were 10 years ago. And and I think a large part of that is because of budget and just what is the cost to produce these things. And post is like 25% of the budget. And I think there's a huge opportunity for like, do you know what rotoscoping is? Have you heard of rotoscoping?
Not really, no.
So rotoscoping is like the act of So like Pocahontas, the Disney movie Pocahontas, like that's a rotoscoped movie where they filmed actors in like a stage where they're interacting with things and then they painted over them. And that's what gave it like its realistic quality. And I think that we're basically already there where you can like imprint a robot over somebody, or you can do a deep fake and you can like, immediately be acting as like somebody's grandmother. And it would like come off that way as you can like have her expressions. And I think that stuff is going to just like unlock so many things. I think that probably in the next 2 years, I think that a complete a film that was entirely or a short film, I think a short film that was entirely generated by AI will win the Oscar, the short film Oscar. And I think it's going to unlock so much. I remember as a kid, I don't know, like, if you had friends like this, but we just had a camera and we'd go out and film stuff, and we tried to like just film a little movie or a TV show, or we'd have like little army men getting blown up with fireworks and stuff, and we would like make all these things. And I just keep thinking about if we had the ability to actually put ourselves in like and map a background of a World War One scene and do that, we totally would have. And I think like those things are so exciting. And I think it's going to allow people that never were able to tell their story as grand as it is. We're going to see so much creativity. It's going to be unparalleled. And the thing that I saw in Hollywood also was I worked for Universal Pictures, and they had a thing called story department. I wrote a whole blog on my website, kylequartz.com, about this, about like what's hidden in Hollywood. Most people only think about the stuff that comes out. They rarely think about the stuff that didn't come out. And I can tell you that the best writers I've ever read have never had their stuff published or produced. Everything that gets shown is a miracle that it's existed. And if it's good, it's an even bigger miracle. The whole process is almost antithetical to the process itself. And I think a lot of these tools are going to leverage people in a really positive way to realize, either visualize their ideas, conceptualize them further to overcome a block. And I think we'll become like a conductor of an orchestra. I think that we're going to have all these like, AI agents or different things that are here to kind of make stuff. And we're going to be the taste curators of creation. And I think that's going to be just so exciting. And so I think with Hollywood, I think that these tools being developed is going to allow people to make things for cheaper and better. And eventually that cost as time goes on is just going to go to zero, that's never really happened. Movies have just gotten more expensive over time, not cheaper. This is the first moment that we have technology that's going to make things cheaper. And there's people on TikTok or Instagram that do deep fakes of like, being Tom Cruise or whatever that look better than what a lot of the movies do when they do deep fakes. Like that new Alien Romulus movie, they had a deep fake of an actor that's no longer around and they wanted him to be in the movie, and it just looks weird. And it's like, I feel like these guys that are on TikTok could have done a better job. And I think that's like the really unique thing is that like these old institutions haven't innovated enough. And they're going to get their lunch eaten by a lot of people. And I think it's going to just unlock creativity in a huge way. And I hope all the scripts that are just locked in these story departments at these giant movie studios get to see the light of day. Because let me tell you, it's the best stuff. It's so good. It's the best stuff I've ever seen, I've ever read. And I'm so excited for the world to hopefully see that at some point. Because I think it would feel like a quality explosion of content in movies in a way that I think we've never experienced in our lives.
Exciting times indeed, and some very interesting perspectives that you shared there. Thanks, Kyle. Finally, how could people get in touch with you? How could they download the app? Would you be able to guide them?
Yeah, they can go to OmList.io, and that's our website, and that will take them to download links and all that stuff. We're currently only on the App Store, but I battle with Google every day. Hopefully, we'll be on the Google's Play Store very soon. And a lot of my stuff, I have a Substack called Founder Core. which is I release 2 weekly articles that is about being a founder, lessons from being a founder, or just like what's going on in my life and experiments that I'm trying and like what the results are. And so they can find me over there. And all of my user handles are Kyle F. Quartz. So that's from Instagram all the way to TikTok, Twitter. So yeah, that's where they can find some of my stuff.
Thanks, Kyle. So Kyle Quartz, that's KYLECORDS. That's how you spell it. So follow Kyle. I'm sure they will find some interesting information and information on upcoming projects rather. And I'm sure you're going to find the app interesting. I certainly found your website very interesting, in fact.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kyle, for coming on the show. This was certainly an interesting discussion and something very different to our previous episodes. So previously we had some speakers on productivity, to mindset, to presentation skills, to you name it. So skills aspect. But right now we're getting into, speaking to business owners, sharing their experiences, learning from them, and so on. So thank you very much, Kyle, for coming in. Really enjoyed this session. And
likewise.
Thank you. And all listening, I hope you found this session interesting. Subscribe to the Money Master HQ channel across all social media platforms. And there are some interesting episodes that are coming up over the next few days and weeks. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a good day.